Before we start listening to our product managers, I wanted to call out a few things that are coming up here at Ivanti. So our virtual tech summit is October 25th and 26th of this month. So if you haven't already registered, please do. We will send out some links in the chat here in a second to do that. But yes, please register for our virtual tech summit. It's completely free. You'll get more inside information from our PMs and more. So please take a look at that. And right before our tech summit is our product release. So our next product release is coming out on October 24th. So be on the lookout for that. That should be coming via mini channels. So I'm sure you'll have the ability to look at that. And I do just want to call out before I send it over to Todd is that we will be sending out a feedback survey after this session. So please be on the lookout for that in your inbox to provide us any feedback on how today's session went so we can continue to improve moving forward. So yeah, let me pass it over to Todd if you're ready, and we'll get started.
I am. Thanks, Cassidy, and welcome everybody. At least thanks for joining us this morning or afternoon, wherever you may be located. We're excited to go ahead and I guess, again, try this new approach to trying to share more information out to all of you, especially appreciative of all of the feedback that you do provide us along the way. And that's kind of part of this Innovators preview. So let's go ahead and get started, as we only have an hour, and there always is a lot of content that we have for you. Really, what that means is there's a lot of updates. So looking at our agenda, we'll go ahead and cover all the main areas of the Ivanti Neurons platform, as we call it. So there's the platform itself, discovery, workspace, edge intelligence, healing, AI and machine learning, UWM, and patch management. So there's definitely a lot, planned. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and cover platform, discovery, and workspace, and then hand it over to Robin and Alan to cover edge intelligence, healing, AI and machine learning, and DEX, and then Lara for UWM and Sam for patch management. Okay. At a high level, here's just a quick overview of all the different items that we've been able to pack in with this release. So this was just released last week. And so again, we're glad to kind of go through these items with each of you to give you an idea and a heads up. Hey, these are all the items that are new. I guess before I get into them, also, since we were kind of short on time, we do like it to be interactive. I would say if you have questions or thoughts, please put them in the chat. We may not really address them in real time, just again, because we're trying to go through this, make sure we give everybody enough time, but we will respond to all those questions that you may have, okay? So by all means, please use the chat as necessary. So the platform is a mixture between Robin, Rowe, and myself. As we look at all these different updates, we have, I guess, what we'd call tenant supportability, landing page updates. There's an area where we updated the device view, and then agent management. That's going to be a sneak peek. So we've been doing a lot of updates in agent management area. I'll go ahead and dive in again on some of these items. The first one is something we've heard quite a bit from our customers, and that's the ability to get access to all of your data. We realized and we knew, we know that there's a limitation in the UI on the devices and people on what attributes you're able to see, or whether that's in that list view, or also the ability to filter. So again, it was very limited in what we had there. We are now making it as possible, or as part of this release, the ability to search through all of those attributes and to be able to filter off of all of them. I will still say it's coming to production. It's pretty close to being there. We're doing our final testing in our dev environments. So I'll honestly expect to see it within the next week. I will go ahead and provide some of a demo of that here in a bit. And then same thing, I'll provide a demo of the updates around agent management. So there's been some reboot options that actually came within this past release. Just as we're trying to centralize everything, we have multiple capabilities that require reboots now, and that's where you'll start to hear more from Alan Braithwaite around app distribution that's now available for our healing customers. That, along with patch, had multiple areas requesting and needing reboots, so we're trying to centralize that as part of the overall agent piece. Again, you'll see more updates here over the next couple releases in that area. Same thing around the overall agent management experience. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. We'll make sure that these slides are provided for you because I want to get into the demo, which I think most of you would be excited to see on these. Okay, so again, this is going to be early access for this quarter. So again, it was something we're trying to do as much as we could to push and be part of our October release. We couldn't get all of it done, so it's going to be flowing through this quarter. But we did want to give everybody here a heads up, especially with it being an Innovators preview. Okay, so I'll stop on those ones and then go ahead and do a demo and then hand it over to Rob and on the other items. So as mentioned, a couple of these items are still pretty close to being done. They'll be pushed to production once they're ready. That first one was the enhancing what's called our column chooser. So in this area, you'll see that we now have, it'll be a new look and feel. You'll be able to drag and rearrange the columns here, and it does update it underneath. But more importantly, it's the ability to go through and select essentially any attribute that's there. I know, thanks, Wayne. I'm seeing it too. Like as I said, we've been more of you. We've had a lot of people anxiously waiting for this update. We're excited to say it's there. The one thing I would just kind of mention, we don't have the ability to show any attributes from arrays of information. So think software. You're going to have a lot of software for a given device. We don't have a way to let you see software title or name because it would be a lot of different entries for a single device. We'll probably add that later as we figure out a better user experience for it. But in the meantime, at least you can still see essentially every attribute that's been discovered or imported into your system. Now, on the other hand, with filtering, you do get the ability to filter on everything, even including arrays. So like if I was to go down to software, in this case, I can see all the information that we might have imported for software, whether that's the add and remove programs, the packages, so like the EXEs, if you're looking for a particular EXE, you can look at that for looking at package and then file name, or if there's a particular file size, again, you can go ahead and use any type of filtering on that to find it. While you may not see the file name here, it will actually filter accurately down to those records that have that software package with that file name, okay? Same thing applies to the groups themselves. So again, the exact same filtering. If I was to drill into one of these, again, able to go through and create any type of group or query off of any attribute now, okay? So just realize that that's now available or will be available here shortly, okay? The next one you'll see here is another area that we're working on, and it's again kind of in our testing environment. There's still a few things we need to wrap up before we'll release it in an early preview mode, and that's our new agent management experience. So there's a couple things here. We're pulling out agent deployment as one item that's just making it a little bit more explicit and clear on what you can do, whether that's deploying it with Ivanti Neurons and leveraging the deployment representative. You can go ahead and click in here to select the policy that you want to deploy out. Something that's called an enrollment key. So that's just a way to say, hey, this enrollment key, and I'll go to that in a bit, is what the activation key is essentially. I think you've seen that in the options file. There's an activation key area that is the enrollment key. And then you can have it be select a deployment rep, or we'll have it auto select for you. So there's still more work here, but I can select any of these endpoints that may not have the Neurons agent on them, add them, and then go ahead and deploy once it's ready, okay? That one is just saying there's no activations left on that one. And then you can specify credentials for Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. Agent management will actually be a complete list of all the different devices in your environment along with their policy. This is where you can easily go through and reassign a policy to an existing device, or if there's a failed install, you can retry it or delete or uninstall. There's going to be more coming as well in subsequent releases in this area to provide more visibility. So one was the last time, hopefully, it checked in or we saw the device. What are all the different what's the version of the agent installed on this particular device and so forth. So we're going to provide you a lot more information there. Same thing, agent policy is going to be slightly different, where you can start to define everything for a given policy, even connector servers. So again, if I had my, today you may have noticed on connector servers, it's a hard to find policy. This new agent management will let you define anything you want, essentially, okay? You don't have to use those default policies anymore and then change the policy manually later. Again, you can define all these and deploy it out with what's called this enrollment key. So again, when you create an enrollment, I know I'm going quick through this, I don't have much time here, but when you create an enrollment key, you can specify which policy you want to use, the number of activations. Again, if I can put a large number in there, or expiration date, I can put a year out. This is saying that I can install the Neurons agent on up to 10,000 agents by this time frame. and it will already pre-install this policy on it instead of that default policy and then you having to go through and manually adjust it. So in this case, you can already pre-select which policy you want to install on the device. Okay. Those are the main updates for the platform. I guess we'll quickly turn the time over to Robin for this one.
Yeah, hey everybody. So yeah, this is just a brief update on this one, and this is really when you interact with support, whether it's directly through Ivanti, whether it's through partner or a field, or any scenario where you want to grant someone temporary access to the tenant. This is really wrapping it up into an official feature that provides the ability to grant temporary access to the tenant outside of any configured SSO. So it provides a way of getting local authentication in a secure way into the tenant via an alternative URL in a time boxed fashion. So any accounts that are created here will have a limited lifespan, and once those expire, then they no longer have access.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin. Okay, last landing page dashboard updates. You want to also cover that?
Yeah, absolutely. So these are really an extension to the existing widgets that we have on the existing landing page. So these are entitlement aware. If you have software spend intelligence or the patch management modules, then you will see these widgets showing up on the landing page to convey insight from these areas onto the overall landing page.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin. Okay, I'll go ahead and wrap up on the next couple sections. So Ivanti Neurons for Discovery, I'm not going to do a big demo on these ones just because a lot of it is data driven. I'm not going to show you how long or what it looks like to import data into the system. Again, we have ways for that. Our new integration for this release is Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So that's a new connector that's now available for all those customers that are using this. Again, we pull in endpoint device information as well as the vulnerabilities associated to those devices that Microsoft discovered. Very similar to what we are doing for Tenable, Qualys, and Rapid7. And I wish I had a teaser to show you what we're doing with our next release here in January, but we're now doing a lot more to surface this information. So it's trying to provide you not only discovery, but also security insights on your machines and your environment, okay? Other enhancements that we've done across the board, we've improved, again, CrowdStrike, as mentioned, we've had requests to import software data, so that will be now part of CrowdStrike. We've updated Intune and Entra ID to have additional filtering options for them, especially to let you filter out BYOD devices, as that was a request from many customers. And then same thing for SCCM. We brought in additional information that was requested, okay? So again, I'm not going to go through all those just because there's not really much to demo on it. Ivanti Neurons Workspace, Robin, what I might do, since this is the last one, I'll just talk through remote control and then hand it over for the bulk actions if that works. And so we'll kind of go back and forth on that one. So
Absolutely.
Remote control updates, there's always ongoing performance and stability as we're doing, just make sure that that tunnel performance is there and that it's always up. Actually, within last week, we also updated that session timeout with Chrome. So previously, if you had a remote control session in Chrome and you left that tab for around, again, it was around 90 seconds, it would actually time out and log you out of that remote control session. Well, now it's actually going to stay open indefinitely. So realize that as your users are using remote control, if they go ahead and turn, and use it and have it in multiple tabs and need to do something else, it will stay active. Okay, so that's a new update that we've now released and it's in production. Okay. Yeah, I know there's a few that we were looking at. We were able to get around it, so excited to have that one out there. Okay, turn back to Robin.
All right, thanks, Todd. So on this one, I'll show an example of this one working briefly when we get to the healing section. But really what this is around is for customers who want to be able to remediate devices at scale. So of course, it's always been possible to run bots through the bots UI. For many customers who are using Scope, so they want to unlock the power of remediation to analysts who have a scoped view of the world, but to be able to do that in a constrained way. So effectively what this piece of work allows the content creators to do is to publish the bot to allow an analyst to be able to launch an action against multiple devices by selecting the devices and running a custom action. Now, this has its own publishing workflow, so you can control separately, whether it's single device or multiple device, and you can layer on the access control on top of that one, and there's a separate view to be able to view the results at scale in a broader way as well. So I will talk through that one in more detail in a moment. But before we get to that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into Edge Intelligence. So at this point, Todd, I will just go ahead and take the screen and give you your screen back. So if I just jump into the slideshow from here, there we go. And we'll just cover a couple of updates that we are bringing in from an edge intelligence perspective. So we're going to talk about the new targeting queries perspective. There's some enhancements we've brought into a couple of the sensors in there, and we've brought in some enhancements to favorites as well, which I'll show very briefly as well as a number of ongoing enhancements and continuation of our monitoring work in progress. So first of all, targeting for queries, what you will have noticed in your Edge Intelligence is a new section in the top right-hand side of the screen, which gives you the ability to go and set up groupings of devices. And really the difference between this, obviously you've always been able to pin results in filters and be able to do geo filters on the world map view to be able to constrain the queries which you want to target with devices, and that's typically done on an ad hoc basis. The idea behind this is more of a permanent set of filters, and this is really a place where we're going to continue to grow the experience and bring it in line with the rest of the platform with the existing groups. So the starting point for this one is you're not going to see the same richness that you see within the devices, but this is part of a journey that we're on to really homogenize the experience with a broader platform and provide that ability to be able to seamlessly constrain the results across different sensors as you're using the product. Log on performance, if you use the log on performance sensor, you'll notice additional granularity within there as well. So we now take into account the group policy processing time, scripts, and some other enhancements with that as well. And favorites, there's actually a couple of enhancements we're bringing on here, and I'll jump out and show that one in just a moment in a bit more detail. A couple of UX enhancements just around the dates and times to make those more flexible and in line with the rest of the platform. And some broader UX enhancements for multiple scroll when using the country picker as well. So the team are obviously continuing work on the time series on the Edge. If anyone on the call doesn't yet have early access to the time series on the Edge, so we have a number of sensors that support this now. It's currently switched on from an early access perspective via a feature flag on the tenant, so we can get that enabled. And then there's a registry key you can deploy to endpoint to go and set that up. The team are focused on the centralized control and configuration of that as we work through to the next release. So that said, before we move on to healing, I'm just going to jump out and very quickly, again, there's a lot of stuff to cover, so I'm only going to give a whistle-stop tour of the favorites functionality, but I think that's key for many of the folks on the call. And there's really two elements to talk about here. So typically, you've been able to go into a sensor, you can go in and you maybe want to come into some parameters, change a few things around. You think, hey, this is a really useful set of data. Now I want to share it as a favorite. And historically, favorites have been maintained on a per user basis. Now, what we've introduced is the ability to, first of all, if you changed any of the filter settings on the columns, they previously weren't persistent saved as part of the favorite. Now they are. But in addition to that, we've also introduced a new bucket of shared queries. So if you want to make a query that's a favorite that's available for other members on the team, save it to the shared bucket. And then on the home page, you now get categorization of these favorites. So anything you put in shared is available to all users. Hopefully that is useful to folks on the call. It'd be great to get your feedback on that. Okay, so for healing is really expanding in terms of the depth and breadth of capabilities that it provides. Before we talk about bots, which traditionally has been the cornerstone of healing and obviously still is, but in addition to that, we also have app distribution as well. So I will invite Alan to talk about app distribution.
Great, thanks, Robin. Yeah, as Robin mentioned, app distribution is a new feature. It's included in Neurons for Healing. You've probably heard about us talk about app distribution for quite a while. Just to be clear, it is part of Neurons for Healing, which is part of Neurons for DEX, which is part of Neurons for UEM. So if you have any of those SKUs, app distribution will be part of your feature set. So just a couple of things about what app distribution is. Well, today people use several tools to do app distribution because sometimes the current or newer tools that you can buy, whether that's Intune or some competitor of ours, don't quite have the strength of some legacy tools that have typically been on-prem. Well, we're bringing this all together. We're creating a SaaS solution that has the strength and power of some of the more legacy deployment tools that are out there. And also some of our current existing EPM or DSM customers are looking to move to the cloud, this is one important feature that needed to be there for them to be able to migrate and move. And so this is an important step in that process. Some of the key features, it has a really nice modern UX to simplify the package creation, very simple packages to very complex. You can deploy to groups or individual devices. You can deploy it right now at this time or schedule it to occur at some later time. You can do package versioning. There's some integration in the workspace, so the action to deploy an app is another one of the actions that you'll see inside of device view. And you can ensure compliance, so you can enforce that packages are always installed, something for maybe a software, for security software, anti-malware or something you want to make sure is always on a device. You can create some detection logic, and if that ever gets uninstalled from that device, you can ensure that it automatically gets reinstalled. I will point out that this is Windows only for this first version, but we will expand other platforms moving forward. So let me give a quick demo of this. Grabbing the screen. The first thing that you need to realize when you need to configure when you use this this new feature is ensure that in your agent policy that you have app distribution as a module. You can see it right here, or if we open it up, coming down as a capability, you can see app distribution. If it's not enabled by default in agent policy, in your default agent policies, if you do not have that enabled and you target devices, they will not actually receive that. They will be in a pending status, but we will send back a message saying that you have not configured them with app distribution, so you will know that. But just want to make sure that you are aware to configure agent policy that way. So let's go into the tool itself. Inside of the tool, there are three main panes or areas inside of it. There's an app catalog, there's some configuration information, and then there's a deployment area where you can see how details about how your deployments are going. Now you can see deployment status inside of the app catalog, and the intent is to be able to, inside of the application and the app catalog itself, view most of the information you would need to be able to see. But let me get you familiar with this, with the tool, with App Catalog. You have your name, description. On-demand install means that this package will be available to install in the device view. So for example, if I come over to a device view for a particular device, you can see over here, install app. I click that, and the packages that are available here are the ones that, if I come back over here, have the on-demand install enabled. If that's disabled, they will not appear over here. That way you can differentiate between what you want your analysts to deploy out and what you would prefer them not to deploy out. In this view also, I'll also point out that when you're drilled into an individual device, you can see which applications have been deployed, what their status, whether it's successful or not. And if a device is not there, you can also go into inventory. Just ensure if somebody's asking for a particular app, you can see if it's in inventory, you can see if it's already been assigned. If not, go ahead and deploy it. Click that, click install, and it will immediately push that out. So let's talk about, so we do have an import from EPM. For those that have used EPM or current customers of EPM, we have the ability to import a .lbms file. You can see these right here. I can choose something that I had before. Maybe you had already created a CrowdStrike package in your. One thing to note: this feature, so it does work for most packages, but we have it still in beta, as you can see marked here in red, because there are still some things we feel like we want to keep testing and make sure it works correctly. You can see in this case, it imported this. It will import the actions and things associated with it. So if I come in here, you can see it knows what to download and how to execute that particular file. So that's one way to get apps in. Another way is just to add a new one. So if I create a new one here, I can give it a name. I can come into package. There's a lot of actions to be able to take, including a detection action. The most basic actions are downloading and execute. So we put these here by default. For download, for example, if I wanted to create one for 7-zip, I can go grab the URL for that, paste it into here. You can see here that a hash value field is available. It's not required unless, well, so it's not mandatory, but it is required, and the instructions here explain it is required if you want to use peer download. This is something we will automate a little bit better in the future, but just making it clear to you that if you want to be able to use peer download, it needs to have a hash value in here. It's really quite easy to create one. I have over here, for example, I just went to where I downloaded that 7-zip file, ran this cert util hash file, name of the file, grab this, copy that, and paste, and now you have your hash value. Then I can come into execute. It already knows which ones I've downloaded. I can select those, and that's the most simple way to create a package. I can also add detection logic. I can add other commands, as you can see there. I save that, and I have my initial package. If you come back to the package, you can see that it's versioning. So if I decide, oh, whoops, I forgot to put the /s on there, so silent, I can do that. Now I have a second version. It always runs the this, grabbing the screen. The first thing that you need to realize when you need to configure when you use this this new feature is ensure that in your agent policy that you have app distribution as a module. You can see it right here, or if we open it up, coming down as a capability, you can see app distribution. If it's not enabled by default in agent policy, in your default agent policies, if you do not have that enabled and you target devices, they will not actually receive that. They will be in a pending status, but we will send back a message saying that you have not configured them with app distribution, so you will know that. But just want to make sure that you are aware to configure agent policy that way. So let's go into the tool itself. Inside of the tool, there are three main panes or areas inside of it. There's an app catalog, there's some configuration information, and then there's a deployment area where you can see how details about how your deployments are going. Now you can see deployment status inside of the app catalog, and the intent is to be able to, inside of the application and the app catalog itself, view most of the information you would need to be able to see. But let me get you familiar with this, with the tool, with App Catalog. You have your name, description. On-demand install means that this package will be available to install in the device view. So for example, if I come over to a device view for a particular device, you can see over here, install app. I click that, and the packages that are available here are the ones that, if I come back over here, have the on-demand install enabled. If that's disabled, they will not appear over here. That way you can differentiate between what you want your analysts to deploy out and what you would prefer them not to deploy out. In this view also, I'll also point out that when you're drilled into an individual device, you can see which applications have been deployed, what their status, whether it's successful or not. And you know, if a device is not there, you can also go into inventory. Just ensure if somebody's asking for a particular app, you can see if it's in inventory, you can see if it's already been assigned. If not, go ahead and deploy it. Click that, click install, and it will immediately push that out. So let's talk about, so we do have an import from EPM. For those that have used EPM or current customers of EPM, we have the ability to import a .ldms file. You can see these right here. I can choose something that I had before. Maybe you had already created a CrowdStrike package in your, one thing to note, this feature, so it does work for most packages, but we have it still in beta, as you can see marked here in red, because there are still some things we feel like we want to keep testing and make sure it works correctly. You can see in this case, it imported this. It will import the actions and things associated with it. So if I come in here, you can see it knows what to download and how to execute that particular file. So that's one way to get apps in. Another way is just to add a new one. So if I create a new one here, I can give it a name. I can come into package. There's a lot of actions to be able to take, including a detection action. The most basic actions are downloading and execute. So we put these here by default. For download, for example, if I wanted to create one for 7-zip, I can go grab the URL for that. paste it into here. You can see here that a hash value field is available. It's not required unless, well, so it's not mandatory, but it is required, and the instructions here explain it is required if you want to use peer download. This is something we will automate a little bit better in the future, but just making it clear to you that if you want to be able to use peer download, it needs to have a hash value in here. It's really quite easy to create one. I have over here, for example, I just went to where I downloaded that 7-zip file, ran this cert util hash file, name of the file, grab this, copy that, and paste, and now you have your hash value. Then I can come into execute. It already knows which ones I've downloaded. I can select those, and that's the most simple way to create a package. I can also add detection logic. I can add other commands, as you can see there. I save that, and I have my initial package. If you come back to the package, you can see that it's versioning. So if I decide, oh, whoops, I forgot to put the /s on there, so silent, I can do that. Now I have a second version. It always runs the most current version, but you can see previous versions if you'd like. Then as far as distributing it to devices, we have a couple of system distribution areas here where it will exclude everything, or this on demand is for when you add it inside of the device view that I showed earlier. So if I want to add a new distribution here, I can come in, add, find a device that I want, add that, give that a name, and say go. By default, it is enabled. This device is now targeted right away. Now I could have also come in here and decided I wanted to schedule it and decided to start after a selected time later based on either the local time of the device or a global UTC time. But I just decided to go ahead and do it right then. If I come back to my packages, I can now see this new package, and I have a device that's in the pending state waiting for that device to call in and get that package. And when it does, it will install it. Down in deployment status, you can see the details of all of your devices, all of your packages. You can filter by device and see all the things going on with that device, or you can filter by application and see all the things going on with a particular application, or you can sort by state. Very flexible. We also have some graphs here at the top. So that's as Robin put it, a whistle-stop tour.
And it'll go and run those devices. Now, if I don't have access to the bots feature, what I'm going to see is, let me just see, here's an example that I looked at yesterday. So I can go, for example, and click view results. And what I would see as a user is just a filtered tabular view of the results for that user. So without having access to bots, I can still see the results of that bot. I can get this graphical overlay to see, what percentage have been completed, were there any with errors, how many devices. I can click on the target count, and then I can get the status for any of those particular devices and jump in and get the information from there as well. So again, if I'm an administrator, I can zoom back out and I can see the full trigger history, and again be able to get that overview of what's happening and dig into any errors and things like that. So again, just focus on making it easier to use. So the other piece I'm going to show is really our new survey capability. So what you're going to see, this is, again, we're moving into an early access state with survey to get some feedback. So again, if you're interested in test driving survey, let me know. And really what this is about, this builds on the capabilities that we've been bringing into the platform in our Microsoft Teams to be able to pull in ratings and quantitative information. And this is really about creating a survey-centric experience to be able to report on that information. So this is going to be an evolving experience. It shows time series data, so you can understand the trends, you can understand the individual question breakdowns on those as well. And really under the hood, this is a bot. So if I go in and look at the experience within here, you can go out and you can control that end user experience. This is going to tie back into the DEX score as well. There will be in the next release a new survey elements, so you can opt in whether this is going to update the DEX score or not. And effectively what this is going to do, it's going to take those ratings and it's going to provide that reporting layer to be able to understand from a business logic perspective, what's the trends, how are we tracking, what are the results, and really be able to measure every facet of IT, not just things like post-incident surveys, but also what's your experience with this device, what's the experience with this app. We're also doubling down the app distribution piece that Alan showed previously. We're working on a two-way integration, so the ability to trigger an app distribution from within bots and the ability to call a bot from within app distribution as well. So that'll be a seamless experience. So again, if you want to go and trigger a post-install survey or something like that, then there'll be that level of support as well from that perspective. So was there anything else to show from that picture, from that perspective? So trigger history we covered, survey bots we've covered. There will be a couple of other improvements that we're bringing in as we continue to work. So we are working on some new stages. So we will have a new stage for repetition control, which we are currently working through at the moment. So that will negate the need to leverage on-device flags. Stay tuned for that one. That's going to be an out-of-band release that we'll make available once that lands, and that's going to be able to understand the counts of particular actions as well as being able to track and leverage between multiple bots. So, for example, if I want to have a Teams interaction with someone and get feedback, don't ask me again for 30 days, rather than having to leave a flag behind on the device, I'll be able to persist that via a special stage and maintain that within the bot's logic. So stay tuned for that one as it arrives. So with that said, I'm a few minutes over, so I will pass over to Lara and answer any questions there may be in the chat, and Lara is going to talk about exciting developments that we have in the world of UWM.
Thank you very much, Robin. I will share my screen. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to talk about UWM and the exciting stuff we have done with UWM in Neurons. So User Workspace Manager has been an on-prem solution for a very, very long time. It is fantastic for delivering desktop orchestration and application security solutions. But we are wanting to deliver it via Neurons. There are two reasons for that. The first one being that it fits really nicely into the wider Neurons story. So User Workspace Manager is very much there at the Oh, thank you for the applause, Jessie. It's very much there at the point at which you want to get data and prevent issues from ever happening. So it's right there at the bleeding edge, the proactive side of fixing user issues and, in fact, preventing them in the first place. The second reason we want to do it is because we have a load of UWM customers who really want to use UWM in Ivanti Neurons. So for them, we have a journey. It's a three-step journey, and the first step is to deliver a hybrid capability. And I'm very, very excited to tell you that hybrid capability will be available this week. So we are releasing 2023.3 for UWM this week, and that will include this hybrid solution. You will need to own Neurons as well, so please do speak to your Ivanti representative about doing that. But what it will give you is the ability to save your configurations to Neurons. So if you're familiar with UWM at the moment, you would save your configuration to Management Center or to SCCM or other third-party solutions, and instead you'll save to Neurons, and in Neurons you'll create your deployment group and you'll deploy those configurations down. The exact same agent is now an engine of the Neurons agent, and it will run your configurations in exactly the same way. So from your perspective, it's very little overhead. You're using your existing configurations. You can continue working exactly as you have. You just need to deploy the new Neurons agent. But we're not going to stop there. The reason that you want this is to manage your remote devices. So obviously there's a lot more people working at home and they don't all join the VPN. I have joined Ivanti's VPN for the first time in 96 days today for various reasons. But that means that I've only just got my configs updated, and it's the same for many of your users too. You also get to reduce your on-prem infrastructure. As you move over to using Neurons for deployment, you no longer have to use Management Center, so you can turn those servers off if you want. I will say at this point, if you are a personalization customer, you will need to continue to use your personalization servers for now at the very least. That capability can't be delivered via Neurons just yet. It also means that you don't have to do any more upgrades. So Neurons, of course, takes care of the upgrades for you, so that you will have a less planning and upgrade cycles to deal with. And we'll also throw in edge intelligence reporting. So all of that wonderful new stuff that Robin has just been describing about edge intelligence is part of the package of moving your UWM deployment to Neurons. So you will suddenly get all of this fabulous reporting information for you. That will give you ability to really analyze what's going on, to see if there's any changes you need to make to your configs, but it will also give you anomalies. It will also tell you what your configs are actually doing. If there's any problems with them, you'll be able to see that coming out in the data. And as we know, edge intelligence makes that look really pretty. So that's super valuable for you. Like I say, hybrid coming out this week is very much the first step of a journey to bring the full capability set to Neurons. So the full journey currently looks like this week delivering hybrid. In January, we're hoping to have some new edge intelligence sensors, specifically one for application control. And then in the first half of next year, we will be delivering native application control. So Ivanti Neurons for application control. We will give you the ability to create your configs there without needing those Windows consoles. For those of you who use UWM to manage your non-persistent VDI devices, that is on the roadmap. We are expecting to deliver that in the first half of next year too. And we will also continue to build out our data store and reporting capabilities, because that is obviously something that has been somewhat lacking in the on-prem solution. So we want to make sure you get all of that capability when you move to Neurons. After that, we'll be looking to add environment manager capabilities as well. That will almost certainly be part of the bots and the healing piece that Robin was just talking about as well. So we'll continue to build that out, and then we'll be looking at performance manager too. That is my very quick whistle stop tour. Any questions in the chat for me before I hand over to Sam?
I think you're good, Laura.
All yours, Sam.
Although they
Thank
know
you.
where to find you, and everyone's very excited about this journey, so I'm sure that you might be getting side messages, some excitement there. Awesome. So I'll jump in. I'll share my screen here, and we'll talk about updates for Ivanti Neurons for patch management for the October release for the time that we've got left. I will also try to keep an eye on the chat, but I know I'm the last one in this crew. So if I don't get a chance to reply while I'm giving this presentation, I'll try to close the loop after this session as well. We've got a number of enhancements coming in the October release for Ivanti Neurons for patch management. You can see the list here. I'm going to quickly highlight them here in the upcoming slides. So Mac patching, we released in July. We're going to continue to release incremental enhancements for Mac patching, continue to bring those enhancements in quarter over quarter, largely looking for feedback, being responsive to what we're hearing from all of you on the Mac patching front, and then continuing to close the gap, build out kind of consistency from a Windows and Mac perspective, and then Linux in the future as well. So one of the items we released in this quarter for Mac patching is the ability to deploy by severity. So going to look and feel very similar to that deployment option for Windows. There are slightly different categories from a severity perspective between Mac and Windows. So just know, as you especially look at non-security patches, I think you're used to probably seeing kind of the more detailed list that Windows offers. Mac doesn't get into that level of granularity for non-security. So there's one of the differences to call out there between Windows and Mac, but you can configure deploy by severity for Mac patch configurations out there in Ivanti Neurons for patch management. The other thing we released earlier this quarter is context action deployment. So you'll be able to do that, deploy missing patches, deploy by patch group and endpoint vulnerability for Macs that are managed by the Ivanti Neurons agent. And then in that device detail view, you'll also have that ability to select and deploy patches from that view for Macs that are managed by the Ivanti Neurons agent for patch management. In some of the kind of new user experience highlights that came out this quarter, we added what we call a patch group change audit. But if you go out in the patch group, the manage patch group view, we added a new column called recent changes. And this is going to summarize recent changes that have been made to this patch group. So for those of you that have multiple patch admins on your team, you want to keep up with what's going on with these patch groups. We've now got a quick summary. This is going to show you the latest changes. You can go ahead, click that value. It's going to open a detail view, going to show you the details of what has changed most recently. And then you also have the option to go ahead and review all changes over time for that patch group as well. This is also going to be very helpful for those of you that have set up the integration between Ivanti Neurons for risk-based vulnerability management and Ivanti Neurons for patch management, that CVE to patch group integration that we have between the two products, so that if your security team does go ahead and push patches into your patch group, you'd be able to see that that integration is what pushed the change into your patch group. So a quick highlight there, but again, if you're out in Patch Intelligence, if you open that patch groups menu and you select manage patch groups, that's going to take you out to that detail view for your patch groups where you can see this new column with that quick summary of changes as well. So a quick highlight there. From a patch configuration perspective, this is another area where we continue to get feedback. We'll continue to bring in these enhancements each quarter. One of the big requests that we've had is for the ability to schedule a monthly deployment on an occurrence of a weekday. So think your first, second, third, last Sunday, Saturday, Friday. Maybe you want to do the third Tuesday. That type of configuration option, you do have the ability to go ahead and set your occurrence. So you can see all the way first, second, third, fourth, or last. And then, of course, you can select your day of the week. So Sunday through Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You go ahead and configure from that perspective as well. Going to feel very familiar to those of you using our on-prem patch management solutions. We've got a similar configuration option there. So we've had some requests to bring that into Ivanti Neurons for patch management. So you'll see that out there in the patch configuration user experience. I'll also give a quick highlight to ESU, or extended security updates. We've been offering these with our on-prem patch management solutions. Server 2012 and 2012 R2 are moving into this end-of-life phase with Microsoft. We are going to offer access to extended security updates within Ivanti Neurons for patch management. So if you're someone out there that's got Server 2012 and 2012 R2 in your environment, you're looking for that seamless patching option within Ivanti Neurons for patch management, we are going to support that patch subscription within the cloud native patch management solution. You do have to purchase an additional subscription in order to access this content. You're going to see it out in the patch catalog, but in order to scan and deploy it, you are going to need a subscription for it. So just a heads up there, you'll start to see kind of a new icon that'll show up. If you hover over it, it'll say, hey, you need a subscription in order to install these patches. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your account rep at Ivanti. If you need more information, feel free to reach out to me as well. Happy to provide some more information there as well. So kind of a quick mention for anybody out there that's got Server 2012 or 2012 R2 and you're looking for that seamless support from a cloud native patch management perspective. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but I do want to highlight, so on the dashboard homepage, we did add a number of KPIs, and then towards the bottom of the page, you'll see patch management widgets as well. The KPIs along the top, there are a combination of Patch Intelligence and Ivanti Neurons for patch management entitlements. So depending on which patch capabilities you've got access to and you're using in your tenant, you will see some new patch management KPIs that are available. From a UI perspective, if you want to switch out any of the default KPIs along the top of the page, you do have to select that like kind of triple dot menu item up in the upper right of the tile. That'll expand and show you that full list of available KPIs, and then you can switch out the KPIs and kind of customize that dashboard homepage experience as you would like to. And as you open that menu, you'll see that full list of patch management KPIs that are available. And then again, along the bottom, you'll get a quick summary of compliance reporting, patch policy by devices, and then devices by exploit and malware type as well along the bottom. So kind of a quick highlight there, one of those initiatives we've been working on across teams. And that's my very quick update on the patch management side. Looking forward to connecting with all of you for the January release. We've been working on Linux patch management behind the scenes, and we'll be getting ready for a January release of that capability. So more to come from us on the patch management side. And I think that wraps up my piece. I'll open it up to see if anybody's got questions. Robin, Todd, Alan, Laura, anything you guys want to add?
I guess just really seeing if there's any questions anybody wants to ask. I think we're good on that front, but appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. Again, please remember that we'll be sending out a feedback survey via email after the session. But yeah, if PMs, if you guys have anything else you want to mention before ending,
just
do it now.
Honestly, as always, feel free to reach out at any time if you have any other thoughts, ideas, want to be part of our design process as we go through and look at what's in the future. Just realize we're always open, we're always available.
Thanks everyone for joining.